Oh, Taker, where are your manners? I don't know, but I bet they are having more fun than I am.
Fu, everybody, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Kung Fu Conversations with Shifu and Shimu. In this episode, we're going over a very important topic, etiquette and the cultural differences that you need to understand throughout your Kung Fu journey. And do stick around to the end where Shifu lets you know you're not alone. He's going to go over some of the mistakes that he made as a brand new student. So please stick around to the end of the video for that.
Omitofu Stefan and Omitofu everyone, and welcome back. So yes, we're going to talk about manner today. Now, we are not implying that you don't have good manner, but what you perceive as good manner may not be when you come into a traditional martial arts setting. So today we're going to talk about all the culture differences and give you as much information as we can so you will not make that innocent mistake.
So, Shifu and Shimu, I'm wondering, as a prospective student, I see a school that I'm interested in and I want to reach out. What are some of the innocent mistakes that you've seen, some of these prospective students make when they've reached out to you?
I think it's being too laid back in the correspondent because you are reaching out to a very traditional learning environment.
Usually, like you have new student coming in, or they call, can come in, check what's going on, can come in, check your school, right? It's not very plate. Yeah, not very nice to do it. If you start to be a humble beginning, usually you have built a better relationship.
What would be the next step? So now I'm interested and I want to come in for that intro class. How will that go? What mistakes have you seen from that beginning?
Mistake number one is they would march into the training area during class and demanding attention with the street shoes on, and they'll start touching every single weapon that we have in our school. As a new student, you think you're just coming into a shared space, right? But what they don't understand is when you come in, this is a home. It's someone else's home that you're coming into. In the Eastern culture, you never wear street shoes inside a house. 99% of the martial arts school would demand you to take off your street shoes before you entering in.
Yes, some of them they say, oh, who, right? And then they say, oh, nice to meet you. And then a few but don't shake their hand.
When we don't shake your hand, it does not mean we don't want to know you or being rude, but again, we are very reserved.
What would be the proper way to greet someone when you enter a traditional Shaolin school?
In the Shaolin school, you always hear we say Omitofu, and we put our hand together when we say Omitofu. So that would be a greeting. Now, then after the greeting is, but how do we address a teacher, right? In the American Westernized sense, we now call everybody by their first name. So should you call me by my first name? The answer is no. Okay, so the proper way to address your teacher is through the term Shifu, mean teacher, father. Then if the Shifu is married, please address his wife, Shimo, teacher, mother. If there is an older brother, you call him
师兄,
younger Kung Fu brother.
师弟,
older Kung Fu sister.
师姐,
younger Kung Fu sister.
师妹.
Now, if you understand that concept, then you know when you're walking into this learning environment, you're not only walking into a gym, you are walking into someone else's home.
You had mentioned that, the wife of the Shifu is the Shimu. So if there's an instructor who's a female by herself, how do we address her?
You will address her with the masculine term. You will address her as Shifu. So don't get confused, okay? The term Shimo is very unique. It's only given to the wife of the Shifu, okay? I just thought about a very interesting scenario, and that happened many, many times, is that the student come in and they introduce themselves with a long list of their resume of every single thing they have ever learned before. I know that in the Western culture, we are encouraged to show what we know, but remember, you're here to learn.
Oh, in that subject, it's like this. In Western, you want to show what you know. You are actually to prove you can do the job, more for the job interview. If you go to an environment, you want to try learning some arts, right? And then you try, don't want to show what you know. That's one thing, right? The other is, even though you're learning martial art before the different styles, example, right? Even you're learning Shaolin Kung Fu very well. You've been practicing a couple of years, but your style cannot translation to other martial arts.
Yeah, I think there's a certain arrogance in that, trying to let them know, trying to let you and Shifu know that, oh, I'm different. I'm better than these guys. You don't have to start me out with this horse stance and stuff like that, right? So it's like, again, it goes back to also the trust thing too, right? Like they're not really showing a full trust in your knowledge to actually see where they're at. But can you think of some other scenarios or mistakes that you've seen new students make?
First, usually you don't ask. Usually you don't ask Shifu or instructor
or anyone. I know where it's coming.
Brothers, okay, how many years have you been training, right? This is really is not very nice question, and not very common here. Not only one student ask, it's a couple of them.
Couple.
Oh, okay, a little bit more. Okay, this is have a implicit meaning behind you. If you ask how many years have you been training, well, that means like, what that means? Are you good enough to teach me? That's a very interesting question. Or you ask your own brother, oh, how long has you been here? That means this school cannot coordinate good students. It's Kung Fu really, this arts is, you cannot compare the years. Years is only a numbers. And then skill set also individually differently.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, you don't ask a woman how old they are. And so when people ask me, well, Shimo, how long have you been studying? And I kind of translate to like, so how old are you? So yeah, rule of thumb is don't ask.
I wonder if you have any examples of more major, mistakes that students have made. I'm sure we're all interested to hear.
The first thing, you never practice the other style in the current school. Anything like even if you're learning Tai Chi, never practice in a Kung Fu school, or you study Taekwondo, you don't practice in a karate school. This is the number one big mistake. Each martial arts school, this is their home, this is their place. You're not supposed to be bringing any other style. Anything you never learning, you practice, and then very, very disrespectful.
Now I'm curious.
Yeah,
Stefan, you studied with us for a long time. So throughout the year, you must have picked up serious offense, from student. Brenna is innocent, or well, lack of, you know what? I think that sometimes it's lack of grooming on our part, because I really feel that if the student make mistake and they make mistake, it's just because we as a parent did not address it. In order to teach the whole spectrum of Kung Fu, we need to not only talking about your movement, right? But it's what you really need to carry on as a martial artist.
I think the biggest problem is perception, right? How people are perceiving the relationship, right? They're seeing it more transactional, right? They're seeing you and Shifu as their employee, right? Because there's an exchange of money.
Right.
But I think you're, like Shifu mentioned, you're paying for the expertise, right? You're trusting that Shifu and Shimu know what they're doing. So I think when people are coming in and they're exchanging their hard-earned money for your expertise, there's sometimes that disconnect that you're their employee. And yes, in a way, you can look at it that way because of that transactional model, but you're also agreeing, right, to adhere to the rules of the environment that you're entering, right? So I think that in response to what's the biggest mistake I've seen would be thinking about it in a transactional sense rather than you're getting something. You're there to get something, right? And that's your expertise, right? So yeah. All right, so Shifu, I'm sure many of our viewers, they've been anticipating this throughout the video. So when you were a brand new student, were there any mistakes that you made? Do you remember?
Couple of them. I will share only one with you. Okay. When I was young, I remember I met my grown brother practice psychic. I look at it and say, you know what? I saw Shifu doing psychic the other way. Maybe we'll do it the other way. And then the other grown brother saw that again, and then he started making fun of me. You know, he said, "Oh, you know, you can be a teacher." You can be assistant. I feel very bad. Luckily, I did not get called, but I've been making fun for weeks. But even at that time when I was young, it's fine. They make fun. I feel very guilty. I feel very bad. I know I did something wrong. After that, I said, "Oh, maybe after class, you say, oh, Shifu, they call me Shifu, make fun of me." And then I feel very bad. That's why I can. That's why until today I can still remember the mistake I made. It's okay, you make a mistake, learning from the mistake. Even only in Kung Fu school, even in life, we make a mistake, we're learning from it. And then we can improve ourselves.
Well, this has been another great Kung Fu conversation. And I know there are a lot of you out there who would love to get more active. We have been posting a lot of tutorials on different movements and exercises to help you get started. So please like, comment, and share these videos. Remember, if you love it, share it. So hit that notification and you will be notified when we post new videos. So Shifu and Shimu, are there any parting words you have for our viewers?
学艺先学礼.
You must learn etiquette before you learn the arts. With that, Omito Fu, and we will see you in our next Kung Fu conversation.